All right. The time is 4:02 Eastern on a Tuesday. You know what it is. Noah, how are you today, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great. It's no games tonight, which is, kind of sad, but also at the same time, it's a nice chance for us to recover a little bit from staying up till way past what people should be staying up until, writing about blurbs and watching games, which, as fun as it is, it's nice to have a day to recharge, but that doesn't mean we're not still talking hoops, which is that's what we're here for today. So that's what this is about.
That's absolutely what we're here for today, man. And I couldn't agree more. It is nice to get a little break, kind of recompose ourselves, gather our thoughts a little bit. How was Halloween, man? Did you hand out a lot of candy to the trick-or-treaters? Did you have any left over for you and your wife?
Man, we had too much left over. We hardly had anybody come by, which was actually pretty disappointing. We had a few, I'd say maybe like 50 total. So like, of course, some of the costumes were pretty cool to be able to see from some kids because I knew all of them and my wife didn't know very many of them, which just makes me feel like an absolute nerd for some of them. But plenty, honestly, way too much leftover candy. I've eaten all the Twix. I'm working on the Snickers right now. I'm hoping like it's too much left. It needs to be thrown away or something.
I feel you there, man. As much as I have tried to impose my willpower on the 4 buckets of candy sitting on my kitchen table, I have been grabbing pieces here and there every time I walk out there. So yeah. Fortunately, I work in the basement, so I can kind of hold off those temptations a little bit. All right, man. So before we dive into the comments here and the questions, let's go ahead and just take a quick look at some notable injuries that we're dealing with right now. Obviously, CJ McCollum, pneumothorax, otherwise known as a collapsed lung. He's going to miss some time moving forward. That's not just something that you come back from right away. So we saw last night. Yeah, I'm not sure who you were liking. I was in favor of Dyson Daniels. I'll go ahead and eat that crow right now, man. Daniels, to me, was the guy that I thought, wow, more well-rounded skill set. We thought Jordan Hawkins maybe he's a good scorer, but maybe a little bit of a chucker, maybe kind of having some of those rookie efficiency issues, getting some extra minutes, but not going to be quite as good for fantasy. And he said hell with that last night, man. 31 points, 7 triples, monster performance in 38 minutes. So what are you thinking?
Man, I was in the same boat as far as Daniels because, I dropped 95 in 2 different leagues to try and get him, and I got him, and he gave me nothing, which kind of stinks. But I was like, he's the other point guard on this roster, really. Kyra Lewis is there as well, but Dyson Daniels makes sense as the backup point guard, but they decided to unleash Point Zion, which – okay, cool. That actually was nice. He got 9 assists. Cool. But I'm not totally going to just rule out Dyson Daniels. I'm assuming that if Jordan Hawkins wasn't on fire and hitting 7 threes, that he wouldn't have played 38 minutes. So there should be some more minutes for Daniels when Jordan Hawkins isn't on fire. Hawkins was also, pretty bad during Summer League and pretty bad during preseason. And all of a sudden the regular season comes around. He's had a couple good games so far. So impressed and kind of honestly very surprised with what Jordan Hawkins has done so far. But, if anybody's expecting him to come in here and be Cam Thomas with the opportunity, I think you're going to be very, very, very disappointed. But yeah, like you mentioned, CJ McCollum, I believe he had an injury or kind of the same thing happened 2 years ago with his lung, ended up missing about a month and a half with that. So assuming a similar timeline, we may not see him until closer to Christmas.
All right, yeah, and we can always take our L's here on the show. We can check the receipts, but going back a few weeks before the season started, I do recall you and I talking about Daniels and Hawkins as late round pickups because of this very reason, the often injured Pelicans. So yeah, if you were able to scoop either of those guys up before the season started, especially Hawkins, well done. But still, please go out there and make sure you're adding both. Daniels is not dead in the water, correct? That's the way I feel.
I'm in the same boat.
And one more notable injury here, and then we will dive into these questions that are pouring in here. Jamal Murray, potentially going to miss some time with a hammy. We saw last night, we saw Headband Reggie come out and didn't exactly do too much in the starting five. We saw some guys off the bench make a little bit of noise. Colin Gillespie, we saw Julian Strawther. What are your takeaways from Denver? There's still, even after losing Bruce Brown, they're still really, and Jeff Green, they're still really running a very, very tight rotation here. You're really not seeing too much outside of the starters. Any takeaways, anybody worth adding, anything of note here for Denver moving forward?
Yeah, Reggie Jackson makes sense to fill in for Jamal Murray in the starting unit, but it really does change his role because when he's running with the bench unit, he's the point guard. He has the ball in his hands. He's creating. So there is a little bit of value there, even if the minutes were limited. And now he moves into the starting unit. He's still only playing, or he played 24 minutes in their last game, but Nikola Jokic is the point guard. Like, even when Jamal Murray is there, like, Jokic is the playmaker, I'll say. Maybe not the point guard, but he's the playmaker. So Reggie Jackson got 4 assists. I mean, he didn't have a great shooting night. He probably could have scored more than 7. He shot 2 for 8. So there's room for him to be a little bit better. I'm not saying he's a must add, but he definitely is going to benefit, especially if Jamal Murray's out for a long stretch. Christian Brown and Peyton Watson are guys that we've talked about multiple times having a lot of upside. Neither did a ton. Actually, Peyton Watson was a little bit better with 2 steals, 2 blocks. A lot of those guys are potentially already rostered as guys that you took a late round swing on. Strawther was great, hit 5 threes. If he's able to keep playing minutes, kind of, I guess, honestly, a lot like Hawkins, like he was hitting shots, so he's going to keep seeing minutes. If he's not hitting shots, then Mike Malone probably isn't going to force him out there. So I'd say maybe try and scoop him up, but it also could be a risky one because if he ends up comes out next game, doesn't hit shots, his minutes aren't going to be there, may not get much of a chance to get back in there and stay in the rotation. But he was awesome during Summer League and awesome during the preseason. So we'll see if that can just getting the opportunities enough for him to get started.
All right, so the consensus here is Julian Strawther a maybe. No real clear actionable items here with Jamal Murray out. They're just going to lean heavily on Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and the rest of the starters.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm getting.
All right, let's go ahead and kick things off. A frequent questioner of this show, Brenda Jones. Start Isaiah Stewart or off the bench Naz Reid? I think you already know how things go on this show, man. We're here to get nasty. We are not here for Isaiah Stewart, man. We are here at 4 o'clock every Tuesday getting nasty with these questions. And that's who I'm going with, man. This is going to be Naz Reid.
Yeah, no, I'm not having Isaiah Stewart on pretty much any roster. If we're talking like a 30-team league, maybe a 20-team league, then maybe. But I would much rather have Reid's upside.
All right. And for anybody out there that doesn't know, Noah is a chicken noodle soup guy, not a big fan of beef stew. Okay.
I had no idea where you were going with that one.
Usually I don't either when I start the sentence, man. It's just a roller coaster. All right. And then this is a related question. This is a great segue, which is another thing we're all about here on this show. Good segues. Do y'all think Isaiah Stewart has breakout potential? Short answer, no, right?
Yeah, no. I don't like his game for fantasy. I think he's a solid role player, but even when Jalen Duren's out, I'm not super interested in Stewart.
Yeah, I'm not either. Not elite field goal percentage because he shoots threes. He doesn't hit threes at a high mark. Rebounds and points aren't elite. And he doesn't rack up any of those defensive stats that you typically like with a big man. He's playing 35 minutes a night right now and ranked outside the top 150. I don't see where there's the potential for any additional minutes or production out of him. So it's a no. Okay. And we do have Superman Clark Kent dropping in to join us today. Any update on Vassell and Scoot? Noah,
Can't believe
any updates here?
It's a secret identity for a reason, Zach. Goodness gracious. But no, I mean, we don't really have any updates on either of those players. Nothing has really come out. they've kind of been taking it day by day with Vassell, kind of Pop giving a update after each game saying, hey, we kind of don't expect him to play the next game. And that's just what it's been. So we may just kind of have to take it game by game with him and wait on Pop's updates, because it doesn't seem like the team is interested in providing any sort of, hey, we're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks, nothing like that. So kind of stinks that we don't really have any clarity there. And same thing with Scoot, as far as I know, there hasn't been a defined timeline, but just kind of rolling with what they got for the time being.
Yeah, right on, man. And so if we're looking at Portland, obviously we're talking big time injuries. Robert Williams, again, I'm going to take another L here. I called him a league winner if you could get him outside the top 100. And he's looked pretty good so far, but now he's going to be probably riding the bench or not even with the team the rest of the season, potentially getting some season-ending surgery. Is there anybody in Portland that interests you? I know I said yesterday that I'm really interested in Toumani Camara. Not so sure how Jabari Walker fares here in this lineup. Obviously, DeAndre Ayton has been eating top 20 players so far. Curious to see if that continues with Time Lord out of action. Are you interested in Camara or Jabari Walker, or is this a wait-and-see type of situation and you're going to go ahead and add somebody with a little bit more, maybe clear upside in the meantime? What do you think?
I think if you are going to add someone that's off the waiver wire, Toumani's probably the guy that you want to look at. He's a rookie, was awesome in Summer League for Phoenix. I was pretty surprised that they tossed him into the trade that obviously sent Ayton to Portland, because it seemed like he kind of fit what they wanted out of their only draft pick. Getting him late in the second round is just a glue guy, a hustle guy, do all the little things, something that Phoenix kind of needed. They ended up figuring out their depth fine. I think they have a lot more than they did last year, but I'm excited for him to get the extended opportunity. I think as he plays more games, he'll get more and more comfortable, and just really, he's a guy that's going to play hard, and he should be able to get minutes now. So we'll see how that goes. But DeAndre Ayton's been a top 20 guy, but he's also averaging 2.3 steals per game. And I just don't think he's going to be able to maintain that. However, I do still think he's going to be really good, benefit from playing a few extra minutes with Rob Williams not in the fold, and maybe having a larger offensive role with Simons and Scoot out. So I like DeAndre Ayton. After he was traded to Portland, before Robert Williams was traded, that was like 4-day stretch that I was willing to draft DeAndre Ayton. But now I'm more interested in him now that he won't be having to give up any minutes to really anybody. Because if you look at it strictly by position, the next center that should be seeing minutes is Moses Brown. And I just don't think that they're going to force feed him minutes. So.
All right. And with Scoot Henderson out, how are you feeling about Malcolm Brogdon? 2 straight double-doubles, some monster performance as Portland's starting point guard. What do you think about him? Is this sustainable production from Brogdon moving forward until Scoot returns?
I think until Scoot returns, yeah, I don't see why not. He's been averaging 20 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds while shooting 6 for 20 over the last 2 games, something like
right.
that.
Right.
So it seems like it's kind of his offense to run. He'll get Ayton going. He'll get the ball to Sharp for shots, get it to Jeremy Grant, do those things, which we know he's more than capable of doing. But getting his own shot hasn't been an issue for him. So even if the shots go down, which should help with the efficiency, he's having the ball in his hands a ton. So I like Brogdon a lot, even if you're dealing with some efficiency issues until Scoot gets back.
All right. And we've touched on this already. Would Daniels be more valuable than Hawkins over upcoming games? I think the only way that happens is, if Daniels gives you some rebounds, some assists, and some defense, and Hawkins maybe cools off with his shooting. That's the only scenario I could see it happening, because Hawkins is hogging the minutes right now.
Yeah, I think it's the minutes. If Daniels ends up moving into the starting unit, then yes. And I think he would be more valuable because he does more things. It provides value in more categories, but it doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen based off what we've seen.
All right. Hi, guys. It's great to see you all. Hope you're all goof. Yes, I'm always down to clown, always goofing on this show. But assuming you meant good, then it's good to see you too. The Cousins 9855. Is Wood a pickup, or should I rather pick up Isaiah Stewart? I think we can both rule him out. Also, G. Williams, Grant Williams are available. So I think this comes down to Christian Wood or Grant Williams. Grant Williams has been phenomenal to start the season. He's been a 12-team glue guy for you. Christian Wood potentially looking to see some opportunity. Jackson Hayes is out, and Anthony Davis left early yesterday with a groin injury. So obviously Anthony Davis has been known to miss time over the years. What do you think here? Christian Wood have more upside with the Lakers, or are you going with Grant Williams? Or is this just a matter of floor versus upside?
I think that's a good way to put it, because if we see the injury report and see Anthony Davis is out, then I'm probably going to lean Christian Wood, because I would assume he's moving into the starting unit, and we don't know how much time Anthony Davis is missing. If he's questionable, then I'm probably a little bit more hesitant to add Christian Wood, because one, AD could play, and two, it seems like he's closer to playing than automatically being ruled out. But Grant Williams has been awesome so far. I mean, he's been shooting 56% from the field, so that may not be sustainable, but hitting 3.6 triples, that's where most of his value is coming from. But he's going to keep getting open shots with Kyrie and Luka taking most of the attention of the defense. And he's an elite shooter, very solid defender, even if the defensive stats aren't there. Like, he's a good defender. So I'd probably go Grant Williams unless there's any sort of confirmation that Anthony Davis isn't playing.
Agreed. Grant Williams has a clear path to minutes all season long. Christian Woods is highly dependent on those around him in the Lakers lineup. All right, another one from Clarky K. Drop one, Suggs, Strus, Denny, Kobe White, John Collins. I think for me, this is easy. This is a definitely a Kobe White, even though he's had a couple of good games recently. He's a guy that I'm getting rid of. I like Suggs for his steals. I think Strus is an elite source of threes. And, if anybody in Cleveland is dealing with injury, he filled in pretty admirably. Denny's a grand slam, and John Collins has been, pretty solid so far. You have a different take on this one, Noah?
I may drop Strus. I think he had a couple big games early on with them dealing with injuries. Last two games, he was okay again. Like, he was pretty decent against the Warriors, didn't do much against the Pacers. They're still figuring things out. I think the threes will be there some games and won't be others. But it just kind of depends on each game. So I may look to drop Strus if I don't really need the threes. But I think as far as who's the better ad, I kind of think it would be Lou Dort at this point. I want to say it's Daniels, but if he's coming off the bench, then I just don't know. And Mo Wagner is the backup to Goga Batadze, and then Wendell Carter Jr. is going to come back, and then it doesn't seem like it's a great scenario for Wagner to really have a ton of fantasy upside. And even when he saw minutes last season, he gave you points and okay amount of threes. Like, he didn't really give rebounds or blocks or a high field goal percentage from the center spot, which is kind of what you need.
All right. I think you said that perfectly, man. Lou Dort is definitely the best ad out of that trio. All right. Last week we heard from the diehard economist. This week we're hearing from the casual economist. Ausar Thompson ends up as the most valuable fantasy rookie. Agree or disagree? And before we get into that, we already had somebody answer. Sonic Pals answered and said, maybe if Chet and Wemby pass away. Couldn't you just say if they had to miss time? Did you have to mention them dying? Good night, Sonic Pals. Wow. So let's go back to the original question here without getting so morbid, with these questions. Ausar Thompson, is he the most valuable fantasy rookie? Let's rephrase this. I don't think either of us is going to say that he's more valuable than Chet or Wemby, right? Taking Chet or Wemby out of the equation, is Ausar Thompson the clear 3 in that next tier?
Yeah, I don't think it's even a question. Like, none of the other rookies have really, like, Brandon Miller's just now getting to start, and he wasn't great in his first start. Anthony Black's getting to start, and I like him, but Ausar Thompson's on a different level. Amen Thompson's hurt. Nobody's really going to pass him. And I think if you look at it from the perspective of ADP, like, Ausar Thompson was outside the top 100 and it's been a 4th round guy so far. Well, Chet's provided, like, if you're just looking strictly at 9 CAT Z scores, Chet's been a 1st round guy. Wemby's been 2 spots ahead of Asar Thompson, also a 4th rounder, but you were having to spend probably a 3rd or 4th round pick, probably 3rd by the end of it on Chet, and a 2nd rounder to get Wemby. So if you're looking at it from the difference there, like Asar Thompson is the most valuable in that sense. But I think if you're either looking at 9KZ scores or just overall fantasy impact, it's hard to take Asar Thompson over Wemby or Chet.
All right. Moving down the list here. Will Barnes, as in Scotty, and Maxey, Tyrese, sustain their hot starts, or should I sell high? Oh my goodness. What are you thinking here? Are we selling high on Tyrese Maxey?
I'm not selling high on either of these guys. I mean, it depends on your definition of sell high and like what is sell high in your league. Like if you can trade Tyrese Maxey, who's been the number 8 player in fantasy basketball, for Tyrese Halliburton, who's been the number 9 player in fantasy basketball, then I might do that. But I don't think I would trade Tyrese Maxey or Scotty Barnes at this point, just because they've both been awesome. And I don't think anything's going to happen that really changes that. Like Maxey, I had questions preseason because, well, what if they trade James Harden and bring back a star guard? Okay, well, that cuts into Maxey's production. And maybe they make a move at the trade deadline, which would impact him a little bit. But we're talking about 3 months of arguably first-round production based on what we've seen, but at least probably a floor of a 3rd round producer, and getting him probably, I think his ADP was like 5th round, maybe 6th round. So no, I'm not trading either of those guys.
Yeah, totally agree with you here. Trade Jordan Poole for any top 60 player and consider yourself lucky. Oh man, how the narrative has flipped in such a quick...
No. He's leading the league in points this year. He's going to lead the league in scoring. That's what I was told.
Whoever told you that, man, was a jackass. I'm not sure who that is, but clearly somebody that doesn't watch hoops. Jeez, man. What has been going on with Jordan Poole, man? Can you break it down for us? What's happening in the nation's capital? It's pandemonium.
Man, Zach, it's I think it was always kind of going to be like a volatile thing where it's like, yeah, sure, we know what Jordan Poole can do when he's playing his best basketball, but we also are looking at Washington as one of the worst teams in the league, and he's going to have free reign to kind of do whatever he wants. And sometimes it's going to be great, and sometimes it's not. And early going, we've seen a lot of the not so great. And I think the bloopers, we'll call them bloopers, or lowlights, have been funnier or worse than the actual production itself, which hasn't been great. But man, some of those times it shows Jordan Poole on the court. I just see it scrolling through Twitter, and it's like, man, what were you doing? Like, can we take this a little bit seriously? Like, not pretend like we're already tanking 7 games into the season, because you can't even say, oh, the Wizards are tanking, because it's not like, oh, they're resting guys. Like, they're giving this man the keys to the offense, and he's just screwing around at times. Like, we know he's good, so it's like, come on, like give us 20 games where you guys are trying to win, see what happens, and then if you guys want to tank. But don't. What was the one? I think it was on Kristaps Porzingis where he was like backwards dribbling and then just turned around and tried to shoot it and just got blocked. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's been almost kind of like to the Shaqtin' a Fool levels when JaVale McGee was playing for the Wizards. It's been pretty comical so far, man. But yes, thank you for always holding me accountable, Noah, with my ridiculous preseason take.
I expect it right back. So,
yes, sir. Okay, moving on. We got some great questions here. We didn't even answer the question. We just made fun of Jordan Poole and me for 5 minutes. So, are you trading him for a top 60 guy and cutting your losses and saying, to hell with it, I'm done? Are you going to get a top 60 guy for Poole?
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is like you're probably not getting somebody that's top 60. I mean, maybe if you can, then consider it. But in reality, like he could be playing better than he is right now. And if you look at it, he's still a top 100 guy, even if it's been really ugly at times. I assume he can be a little bit better. So I don't know if I'm going to sell quite this low on him, but because I'll put it this way. I don't think it could get worse. So if you want to trade him later on, then you should probably be able to get similar value.
Agree. I think I'm holding for right now as well. It's not really a great time to be trading Poole. Okay. Thoughts on Marcus Sasser, rest of season, the Assassin. I'm still working on the nickname. Coach seems to like him a lot. Do you think he may get 25 to 28 minutes even after the players get back? So the players in question, most notably Alec Burks, Bojan Bogdanovic, Uncle Bogey. What do we think here? Minutes are tough to come by in this rotation. Killian Hayes is playing 30 minutes a night. Obviously, coaching staff loves him as well, 4 years in. So what are we thinking here about Marcus Sasser? Is there a clear path for him to play substantial minutes when the team is healthy?
There should be. I guess it's all on Monty Williams to do the right thing. And he's been starting Killian Hayes so far. So I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing. I think Marcus Sasser could end up being the guy next to Cade Cunningham in this backcourt. But it seems like they're rolling with Killian Hayes right now, and they've liked Alec Burks when he's been out there. So, I mean, hopefully I'd love to see him get 25, 28 minutes. And I think that really does a lot for his fantasy value, but it may be more gradual than we'd like to see, even if he's been really good so far. So I think 25 to 28 when everybody's healthy is probably a bit lofty, but I think 20 minutes definitely. And if he keeps playing well, then maybe he can get to 25 or 28.
Okay. All right, let's move on down the list here. Another Christian Wood, Mo Wagner, Grant Williams question. Should I drop Wood to pick up Mo or Grant Williams? I'd drop Wood to pick up Grant Williams. How about you, man?
Yeah, I think I would, unless there's news that comes out that Anthony Davis is going to miss extended period of time.
All right.
Which let me check to make sure that hasn't happened, because that would be really a bad look for us if I say this and then he's just been announced as out 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything's come out. So yeah, Grant Williams. I'm good with Grant Williams.
All right. From Brian B, 14 team, 9 cat head to head. Should I drop Scoot and pick up Tari Eason or Mo Wagner? Thoughts? I am fine dropping Scoot, but I'm not fine dropping him for either of those guys. I think there's better options out there for you if you want to drop Scoot. What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I'm definitely not dropping him for Wagner. I'd consider him for Eason because I really do like his fantasy upside, but he's going to be coming off the bench this year unless there's injuries to somebody ahead of him. So it really kind of limits him. Plus, they might bring him along kind of gradually. He's supposed to play 15 minutes in his debut on Wednesday, which would be tomorrow. And Scoot, we don't really know what his injury is looking like, and he's been pretty bad to start the season, but I presume that he'll be much better by December or January. So don't think I'm dropping him for either of these guys quite yet.
All right. Hi, guys. Would you trade Harden either for DeJounte Murray or Julius Randle in a points league? I would trade him for either, personally. I mean, we saw Harden's debut last night. I mean, he played well. Great for a categories league, not necessarily huge production for a points league, which I think was to be expected since they have him and Russ in the starting 5 together. Russ is going to get his points. He's going to get his assists. You have Paul George, you have Kawhi Leonard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be, hey, whose turn is it to take over in this game? They're going to have some more balanced attacks than what we've seen in the past from Harden. So personally, DeJounte Murray, I think, is the safer bet, but I think Randall can have the bigger season in a points league. He's shooting under 30% right now. That's going to come up. He had a better game against the Clippers yesterday, so he's trending in the right direction. I think I would trade Harden for either of those guys in a points league. What do you think?
I'm in the same boat. I think Julius Randle should get better, and he's probably the better points league guy, so I might even lean Randle over DeJounte there, even if Julius Randle has been, like you said, shooting below 30% is bad. So I'd probably trade Harden for Randle, no question about it, even if it feels like a real – I don't know. It feels like you could also get Randall on a buy low and maybe trade something else for him. But I would do that trade.
All right. From Noah, he would do that trade. Sid K, with Tari Eason due back tomorrow, would you cut Brandon Miller to activate him or just cut Tari since he's a bench guy? So this kind of calls into question, what do you think about long-term upside for Tari Eason versus Brandon Miller and the opportunity for both of them? Noah, a lot to unpack here. Break it down
Yeah,
for us.
it's a tricky one because Brandon Miller is starting right now with Terry Rozier out and expected to miss their next 2 games. Who knows how much longer, but I believe it's 4 more games until Miles Bridges is eligible to return. So with Rozier and Miles Bridges back, I don't really know what Brandon Miller's role looks like. He may only be like a 15 to 20 minute per game bench guy, if that, because they also will still have PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward there on the perimeter, kind of on the wing, depending on how you look at it. So I think Brandon Miller might be better for like the next couple games, but I'd still actually probably prefer Tari Eason because he's supposed to be on a minutes restriction playing on Wednesday. But after that, like he'll slowly probably get to 20 or 25 minutes per game. He is still going to come off the bench, but I think he has a fantasy friendly game enough to be able to like give you more in a limited space as opposed to Brandon Miller.
Agree with you. I mean, even in better than 30 minutes, you're getting 13 and 4 from Brandon Miller. That's not something. That's not the type of stat line that you really need to keep around on your team. No huge defense, no huge triples from him. I think you know what Brandon Miller is going to give you right now, and you swing for the fences with Tari Eason. I'm good with that. I agree. Okay. Man, we are simpatico today, Noah. We are agreeing on everything, brother. All right, drop 2 for when Fox and Murray come back. Tillman, Strus, Kobe, KCP, or Sasser. So you got to drop 2. Noah, who are you dropping out of these 2? Just instant reaction, go right now.
Tillman, KCP.
Okay.
I don't know if we're still agreeing right there on that one, but Tillman, they tried to move him, or they moved him to the bench for a game, tried to move him back in the starting unit, and then had that really weird injury where they kind of said, hey, by the way, he's not playing after the game started. And he hasn't been great since I think the first game or 2, he was really good. And then, I don't know, I like Kobe White's upside, Marcus Sasser's upside, even if Kobe White hasn't been great. Strus, pretty reliable. Maybe Strus over KCP. The gut reaction thing kind of gets me, puts too much pressure on me, Zach.
We're all about pressure, man. Diamonds are made under pressure, as I'm sure you've heard. Xavier Tillman, I think we're both in agreement, man. He's gone. Dunzo. Cut him to the waiver wire. But for me, it's Kobe White, dude. He's done exactly what I thought he would do this season, which is shoot a decent bit, not score much, not give you much in the peripherals, and give you inefficient field goal percentage. I'll take any of these other guys with far more upside.
That ends our streak, man.
I know.
We'll get it back.
Nice while it lasted. We'll get it. What do you think about Kawhi's statement that he's going to play all 8? Come on, we even had to put the emoji at the end of their ZXC shadow friend. You already know what it is, man. He's not playing 82. If he plays all 82 this season, we're gonna have to do something wild and crazy on this show, man. There's no way he's playing all 82, right?
No, like it's not up to him. It's never going to be up to any of the players how many games they play. He's going to get told for at least one back-to-back this year, hey, you're not playing today. That's just how it's going to be. Even if he wants to play all 82, he's not going to.
All right. There you have it. Moving down the list. Is Diabate, as in Musa Diabate, a stash? I can't imagine PJ Tucker inherits all of those 5 minutes. So this is not talking about 5 minutes of playing time. It's talking about minutes at the 5. This is talking about Mason Plumlee, who had to be taken off the court last night with a knee injury, apparently a knee sprain, expected to potentially miss some time moving forward. I don't think anybody in this lineup is super appealing to me. You have your 5 starters. 4 of them are extremely high usage guys. They're going to mix and match throughout the second unit, I think. Even with all that forward depth traded out of Los Angeles, we're not going to see Moussa Diabate. We're not going to see PJ. PJ Tucker wasn't appealing in Philadelphia. PJ Tucker's never been appealing. He's a way better on the court, on the bench type of guy than he is in fantasy. So I don't think there's any actionable items here with Plumlee expected to miss time. I think you just maybe expect a little bit more from Zubac. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe they'll actually give Zubac the amount of minutes that he needs, because last year he started the season as really the only center, and they were still only giving him like 32 minutes per game around there. So maybe they bump him to 32 or 34 and just kind of make do when he's on the court. Like Diabate may get a couple minutes. Like he played, I think 6 or 7 their last game. Sure, maybe he can do that. Maybe he can get like 10, but he's not going to see enough to really make an impact. Because like you said, too many stars. If they play Zubac 32, 33 minutes, that leaves maybe 15 for him. So don't really see it.
All right. Here's an interesting question. Will things get better for Mikal Bridges? I feel drafting him in the second round was high. Yes. And here's a case where, Noah, I remember me, you, and Raph all put in our preseason ramblings article that all of us felt that taking him there was a bit too high. He's currently ranked, just for context, ranked 36th in 9-cat value, playing 36 minutes a night, 22 points, 2 triples, 5.3 rebounds, 3.9 assists, 0.9 steals, 0.4 blocks, 48 and 90 shooting splits. I'm not really sure where the improvement comes from. It's not because of lack of minutes. It's not inefficient shooting. I can't see him taking more shots. It doesn't really make sense for what they're doing when they have Cam Thomas stepping up in a big way, Lonnie Walker contributing off the bench, Dorian Finney-Smith contributing some monster three-pointers. Do you see a path for Bridges to improve, or is this where he's going to be and you're just going to have to live with drafting him high?
Maybe we can get an improvement in steals slightly. He's at 0.9 right now. I believe over the course of last season, he was 1.1, 1.2 the year before that. But if we're looking at it, over the final 2 months of last season, kind of after the trade, he was he was 25th. So early third round in 9-cat scoring. Right now, he's at the end of the third round. I mean, could it get maybe kind of sort of slightly better if Cam Thomas just falls off again like we saw last season, which I don't expect to happen, for him to just absolutely just fall off the way he did, 3 40-point games in a row, and then all of a sudden he's getting like 7 minutes. Then maybe Mikal Bridges would have a large enough role to do that. But like I think we've said this previously, if you were drafting him in the second round, you were drafting him with the idea that he's going to play 82 games and the other guys going in that range are going to play like 60. And that's where you're getting the second round value, not from him producing at that level. So I don't think it's going to get considerably better as far as per game production, but you should. The odds are that you will have him for literally every game this season. So,
all right. So trade Poole for Franz Wagner. You get sent that. You have Poole and you get sent Franz for him. You pulling the trigger on this one?
I think I am. I think Franz Wagner hasn't even shown us his best basketball. I was looking at this just a minute ago. He's shooting 40.3% from the field this season, and that's just going to go up. And Jordan Poole has been shooting like 43% from the field. So, like, I don't really see that going up a considerable amount. So Franz Wagner has a lot of upside that he still hasn't even shown us for this season. So I'd probably take Franz.
As would I, unfortunately. Expectations on Beal rest of season, rest back-to-backs. Man, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, my friend. We haven't even seen Beal play a game, let alone rest a game yet. But, yeah, I would have to expect him to rest back-to-backs, especially after missing so much to start the season. You kind of feel the same?
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good when he's on the court. I'm excited because he could be making his debut tomorrow, but maybe I'd say Friday at the latest, based on what the reports are kind of saying, is that he's questionable on Wednesday. So hopefully we'll get to see him soon, but going to be really good when he's on the court. But this team was not built to win regular season games. They were built to be as healthy as possible, get into the playoffs wherever they end up being, and just make teams recognize that it's going to be very, very difficult to guard 3 superstars or 3 of the best scorers in the league, and good luck. And they're going to see how it goes. So they're going to make sure that everybody's healthy. Yeah, he's going to rest back-to-backs. There's not a question in my mind, at least as many as he possibly can. I don't remember if he's one of the guys that the rules apply to, but I feel like they do. But if not, then I would imagine him resting most back-to-backs just for the sake of having this team have 3 potentially 25 to 30 point per game scorers healthy for the postseason.
All right. I've got a Dynasty trade 14-team 10-cat question for Noah. Well, thanks, Cal Chad. I can see where I'm not wanted. Heavy at 4 to 5 with Grant Will, Double O, Batum, Wiseman, Strus, Triple J, Ayton, Mobley, Rui. Would you trade Triple J, Jalen Green, and a first for Anthony Edwards? My guards are weak enough. A fan favorite of yours, Noah, Dante Exum, and Cam Payne are in my rotation. Just Green, Suggs, and Killian carrying me. This is War and Peace, man. This is a paragraph right here from Cal Chad. Can you please break this one down for us, sir?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I think it, maybe what the 10th category is kind of alters it slightly. But in my mind, that is probably a slightly steep price to pay for Anthony Edwards. However, I think it would be overpaying with the idea that, hey, now I have Anthony Edwards and Evan Mobley, as well as Onyeka Okongwu to kind of build my team around. Giving up the first alongside Jaren Jackson, Jalen Green probably hurts because Anthony Edwards is the best player in that trade, and then Jaren Jackson, and then depends on how you feel about Jalen Green. I'm still kind of low on him, but the upside is obviously still there. And where that first ends up being kind of impacts that a little bit as well. But overall, in a vacuum, if you're looking at, okay, who wins this value-wise, then the team getting Jaren Jackson, Jalen Green in the first. But there's definitely factors that impact that and team build here. I think I would probably do that for Anthony Edwards, though it would probably also hurt a little bit, just knowing you're giving up that value and may not be enough to win a championship. So you might be giving up an earlier first as well, which would also kind of hurt that trade.
Let me probe a little bit deeper into the for inquiring dynasty minds here. So when you're making a trade and you're getting a guy like an Anthony Edwards, who I don't know where he is in your dynasty rankings. I assume he's top 10 somewhere, right? Easily.
Kind of 8 or 9, yeah.
8 or 9. Okay. So clearly the most valuable player in this trade. And when you're doing that, when you're trading for the most valuable player in a trade, oftentimes you do have to overpay to get your guy. Is that something that you need to do more of in a dynasty league rather than redraft because you're going to have that best player for years to come? Take us through that process as far as it comes to, maybe overpaying for somebody.
Yeah, I think that's probably just kind of the way it works. It makes more sense because you are going to have this player for as long as you want them. So if you're overpaying with the belief in them, because it helps if you don't believe in Anthony Edwards, obviously don't do it. But in redraft, because you're only having them for a season, you're definitely absolutely trying to win a championship. And kind of everybody in redraft wants to get the one on the 2-for-1 deal. Like if you're trading 2 guys to get the better piece, like not many players or managers are going to want to trade away the star for 2 okay players because then you also have to drop somebody. So I think, yeah, in Dynasty, sometimes you kind of say, hey, I really want this guy on my team. I will give up more value and lose a trade in order to get this player back on my team. And in this case, it just kind of depends on how Jalen Green pans out and what the first ends up being that impacts who actually wins the trade or not. But it seems like, in my mind, if you're having Dante Exum and Cam Payne playing in a 14-team league, and your probably best guard is Jalen Green, then yeah, I would take Anthony Edwards and try and have Ant and Mobley as really a core. Also, Ayton solid. OO has got a lot of upside. So yeah, those are kind of the cornerstones of your franchise there.
All right. Love the dynasty breakdown. No, appreciate that, man. And just As if that wasn't enough from Cal Chad, he
Okay.
reached the character limit on that last one. Addendum. I think it will be a playoff team first. Does that change your opinion on this trade?
I think that definitely makes me more comfortable with it. So I think giving up a later first, because the risk is always, if the first ends up being a top 3, top 4 pick based on, if your league has a lottery or whatever, then that can affect value if it ends up being a chance to get a star player. But this class also looks a tad weaker than the last one. So I think I would do that for Anthony Edwards.
Okay. Scoot rest of season outlook, top 5 rookie. I don't know. I think obviously we know 3 guys. I think we would comfortably take Osser, Chet, and Wemby ahead of Scoot. I would maybe consider Derek Lively. I think I'll take over Scoot right now. Jordan Hawkins, I would consider. Marcus Sasser, I would consider. Julian Strawther, if he continues to shoot well. We're already at 7 right there. Do you think top 5 for him? I mean, certainly it's within the realm of possibility, but if he ends up top 5, Tumani Kamara is a rookie as well. If he ends up top 5, he's going to be 5th, right?
I think absolute best case scenario is that he's 4th behind Asar Thompson, Chet, Wemby. But I think it's more likely that he's 5th behind Lively as well. It really just depends on how quickly he can turn this around, because I don't believe that he's going to continue to produce at the level that he has for the rest of the season. I think it's going to get better. How much better kind of depends, and how quickly that happens also depends. But you can alter some things to make him look like a top 5 rookie. If we just look at his production from February on in these categories, and maybe a top 5 rookie. But I wouldn't bank on him being a top 5 rookie the rest of the season.
All right. Moving down the list, we got about 10 minutes left to go here. So I think we kind of touched on this. Thoughts about Zubats. The injury on Plumlee looked awful. Yeah, I think maybe we see Zubats evolve into Goalbots and maybe even to Crowbots moving forward. Maybe we see a little bit of extra minutes, a little bit of extra production there. Noah, anything else to add there?
I'm just genuinely impressed that you knew both of the evolutions off the top of your head.
Oh, come on, man!
I'm
a little bit older than you, brother. I grew up with Pokemon, man. Come on now.
I'm just saying I don't know. I'm just impressed. I grew up on Pokemon. I remember those names now. I wouldn't have been able to tell you that off the top of my head. So I just want to give you your credit. That's it.
I appreciate you, man. I'm still an avid Pogo player right now, so I don't know if you ever got into it, but
for a few months when it first came out, I was into it, and then just kind of fell off.
Right on.
Respect to you for keeping it going.
7 years strong, man. All right. Regarding the Scoot for Tari question earlier, should I drop Jordan Clarkson instead for Tari? I don't know, 6 of one, half dozen of another. I would probably hang on to Clarkson and drop Scoot.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd drop Clarkson. He's been pretty bad to start the season, but I think he'll also be able to turn that around and be a little bit of a safer option than either Scoot or Tari. So no, I wouldn't drop Clarkson.
All right. Try to do some quick hitters here to wrap things up. If you have a chance to trade Jalen Green 9-cat and you need a power forward, who would you target? These questions are always so difficult because then you have to try to gauge who might be available at power forward and kind of that similar 1-for-1 value for Jalen Green. I think these become a little bit tough to answer, but Noah, off the top of your head, is there a power forward that you think might be available in a trade and somebody you might be able to flip Jalen Green for?
That's a realistic option.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of tough. I'm looking just through quickly who's been playing well. I mean, is Jalen Johnson selling yourself too short on Jalen Green based on ADP? I might do that. there's probably a number of power forwards that you could look at that you could trade him for. So I don't know, man. I off the top of your head, like, do you have any power forwards in mind that you think you would value similarly?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out as well. Jalen Green, I don't know how much value he has in a 9-cat league. If people are still looking at the name value, the windmill dunks, the athleticism, the scoring, but I mean, he's outside the top 200. He's an RJ Barrett type of guy. He scores. He's a flashier RJ Barrett essentially, who just doesn't get as many rebounds. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think if you can use that name value, would I trade Jalen Green for Jalen Johnson? I would strongly consider it. What would be holding me back other than potentially losing the ADP value of where I drafted somebody? Maybe you could look at a Kyle Kuzma who has power forward eligibility. He's been playing well.
Would you consider Draymond?
I would consider it. Yeah, I think it's worth considering. Absolutely. Maybe even a Jalen Green for Grant Williams. Is that completely out in left field?
Ooh, that's probably the only one that I would probably say no for off the top of my head, just because Grant Williams is playing at his best and he's been really good. Jalen Green still has the upside there. Grant Williams could just kind of take a drop in field goal percentage and it would impact him a lot. His shot, I mean, he's hitting 3.6 threes. If that goes down a little bit, that hurts his value a lot. So I think it also depends on what categories you're going for, but definitely a tough one.
All right. Let's see here. All right. How do you think Jalen Williams, J-Dub, has looked so far? Is there a possibility of a breakout this year? What do you think, Noah? Are we waiting for Jalen Williams to break out? Did he break out last season? Or is maybe the question's asking, is he going to be better than the 105 per game ranking that he's currently sporting? And I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I presume that he'll get better as the season goes along, because if you look at what he did last season, there's a reason. I think he was a second-round guy over the final 2 months of last season, and it was steals. He averaged 1.4 last season. He's averaging 0.6 so far. That's the main thing that he does. Like, he does everything pretty decently well, very efficient for a young guy, but it's the steals where his value comes into play, and they just haven't been there yet this season. Steals are pretty volatile, so maybe they'll start coming in bunches. We'll see, but as the steals go up, his numbers will, I think, start to look better from a 9-cat perspective.
Agree. All right, we got 5 minutes left. Let's hit these. I need to clear up some stream spots. What trade seems better? Harden for Randall? This is going back. This is a guy that asked us about points league, just so we're clear.
Yep.
Harden for Randall or Harden for Keljo plus Clint Capella / D'Lo? Ooh, so a Keljo D'Lo combo. I mean, what are we thinking here? Do you just do the Harden straight up for Randall? If you're trying to clear up some streamer spots, I think if you're the one trading Keldon Johnson and Clint Capella, that works out for you. But I assume you're trying to get rid of Harden based on your earlier question. So you're clearing up 0 streaming spots in either trade here. Even if it's just a 1-for-1 for Randall. But I don't know. I mean, if you trade Harden for Keldon Johnson and D'Lo, then you can cut somebody to the waiver wire, but then you're still hurting on streamer spots. I don't think either of these trades benefit you in that case.
I don't think it really helps the streamer spot qualification, but I would probably prefer the Julius Randle deal, just because I think, like I said this earlier, in redraft leagues, like, I'm not looking to take one player and get 2 worse players. Like, I'm definitely either going 1-for-1 or trying to be the one getting the 1 in a 2-for-1. I think that's the best way to manage value. So I would prefer trading for Julius Randle.
What about Jalen Green for Bay or Kyle Anderson if Jalen Johnson is not available? Noah, taking off your Hawks hat here, objectively, are you making this deal, man?
No, I'm not trading for Saddiq Bey or Kyle Anderson. Even when Saddiq Bey starts, like, he's been fine, but doesn't have the same upside as Jalen Green. Kyle Anderson's in the same boat. He's coming off the bench. So, no, I'll take Jalen Green's inefficient scoring over Sadiq Bey's inefficient scoring or Kyle Anderson's production.
Yeah, I think we're agreed here. Hold on to Jalen Green for those guys. Don't sell too low now. Most droppable player out of these four: Grant Will, Brogdon, Oubre, Dylan Brooks. I think it's Brogdon for me. What say you?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing because the other guys are guaranteed starters. Bogdan's coming off the bench, and he's been very solid so far. He's been pretty consistent at being a good 9-cat guy throughout his career. But the other three are starters, and I think it's Bogdan right now.
Thoughts on the Suns' big three? I think it's too early to judge that yet, but I am certainly excited to see how well they play together. I think this is going to be a title contender. This is my pick to win the NBA championship this year if everybody's healthy. But as always, that's a big if.
Yeah, I mean, they just can't seem to stay healthy so far through our 7-game sample size. But I think that when they're all on the court, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch to see how they operate. So hopefully they can at least get a handful of games where all three of them play. It's not like the scenario in Brooklyn where I think Kyrie, Harden, and KD played like 10 total games together. Hopefully we can actually see them play basketball for an extended period of time because that would be fun.
All right, and I think let's go with one more question here. One last question. Are we hitting the panic button on Giddey?
I'm like inching my hand close to the panic button, but I'm not quite pressing it yet. I am a little bit concerned with what he's done so far, but the volume of production is still there. Like his shots have only gone down like 1 per game, so I think he'll get better as the season goes on. But I don't really know how much better. It looks like he's going to be a bust at his ADP, but I still think he can give you better production than what he has so far.
All right, we got time, Noah. As long as you're not crunched for time, let's knock these last ones out here.
Sweet.
All-time favorite player, current favorite player. So both of mine are still playing. LeBron is my favorite all-time player. My current favorite player, though, that is not LeBron, Tyrese Halliburton. How about you, Noah?
So Joe Johnson's my favorite all time.
Ooh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Current though, oh man, it changes like every day. Who my favorite player is. So I don't know. I'll say current. It's tough, man. I'll roll with Jalen Johnson on the hype train right now just because he's a lot of fun and he's on the Hawks. So if you didn't know, I'm actually a Hawks fan, Zach. So that's why I like some of these Hawks players.
Hey, man, we've talked about it before, dude. The 2010 Hawks, that was my team in 2K, man. I played so many minutes with Joe Johnson, Al Horford, and the crew, Mike Bibby. Yeah, love me some of those Hawks teams.
But I'll say for a non-Hawk, I'll say Anthony Edwards is probably my favorite player in the league.
Love it. All right, and let's go here. Drop Scoot for Jordan Hawkins. Oh, my. Are you doing this Scoot for Jordan Hawkins right now? You have one waiver ad, and you got to either hold or make the move. What are you doing?
I think I'm just gonna hold. I just don't think that there aren't many players that are available that can make me drop Scoot at this point. Like if you notice every time we've talked about it, like I've really been thinking about it and trying to be realistic because I just love Scoot's upside. And I think that he's going to be really good once he gets back on the court and has more games, like gradually get better. However, I understand in the short term, like dropping Scoot for Hawkins, because I think it probably is smart for the next few weeks. But thinking rest of season, I'd rather have Scoot.
So just to flip the script on this one here, because I would drop Scoot for Hawkins right now. I think I'm a prisoner of the moment. I like to gamble a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But let's say you and I are playing in a league together, Noah, and I drop Scoot and he's on the waiver wire. How much fab, what percentage of your fab are you blowing to get him? Or are you using a waiver priority? And who's the best player on your team you're dropping for Scoot?
Oh gosh. I would probably the leagues that most of them that I play in is 1,000 fab available. So I'd probably spend about 100 to be able to get Scoot on my team. As far as the best player that I would drop for him, here I'll just pull up my industry pickup team. So guys on my team right now that I'd probably drop for Scoot would be Zubats, PJ Washington, Taylor Horton Tucker, Christian Brown, Dyson Daniels, Sadiq Bey are the guys I'd probably go and guarantee I'd pretty easily drop for Scoot. I'd have to consider Melton, Buddy Hield, unfortunately Andrew Wiggins as well.
All right, and there you have it. Noah, any final thoughts today? We went just over the hour mark. We hit a ton of questions today. Fun as always, my brother. This was awesome. Anything to add before we hang it up until next Tuesday?
Oh man, I don't really think I have anything to add, but I'm gonna enjoy no games tonight, and then we will get back to the grind with 14 games on Wednesday, which is going to be just so much fun.
Oh my goodness. All right, man. Noah, it's been fun as always, dude. We'll catch you again next Tuesday. Same time, same place. See you, man.
Yes, sir. See ya.